Our voices have been silenced on Twitter. No, we're not sad. Yes, we're disappointed. We're that it is a badge of honor that I silence the truth. I've been speaking about this for quite some time, that eventually it was going to get to this moment. I just didn't know that China had my name, Andrew's name, or Ray's name. And I guess they passed that on to Twitter. So Twitter decided, okay, we better get them off right now. Imagine, I only have like 74,000 followers. Twitter probably has like about 1 billion people on the platform. But apparently the message that we were putting out there was resonating. And it's bigger than this, as I've oftentimes said. A lot of people are at arms over what happened January 6th at the Capitol. It is most unfortunate, but there was a bigger thing behind all of this. Look at the riots that were taking place this summer, the spring and the summer. And the left, they were quiet. One person even said, who said that protesting had to be nice, couldn't be, all full of anger and whatnot? Who said that they had to be clean and they couldn't burn down buildings? In Seattle, in Kenosha, taking over a police station. The police station had to move. David Dorn was killed amongst other police officers. And then yesterday they breached the walls of the Capitol. Now, I don't even know if they breached it or if they were let in, because some videos we see the police letting them in. But remember, Mayor Bowser, the mayor of DC, had said we need to defund the police. And this summer, when they were trying to get at the White House and they removed the president to the lower bunkers, a lot of folks in the media thought it was funny. Ha, 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 ha. He's scared. They thought that was funny. And then when they burned St. John's Church, they thought that too was funny. They laughed about it. And they said, oh, this is no big deal. These people, they're upset. They need to let out their frustration. Frustration over what? What was happening? Because no one is listening to us when we say that Black Lives Matter. So what does the DC mayor do? She goes out with taxpayer money, I'm assuming, and plants Black Lives Matter on a plaza right next to the White House. That money could be used for a daycare center or an after-school program for Blacks. This is unbelievable. Now, some of you are probably saying, oh, well, that's good. We don't have to hear you guys anymore. Well, I didn't know you were listening. I didn't know you were following us. So apparently what we were saying was resonating. And you know that it was true. This is truth talk, real talk. This is what happens in communist China. When they don't like what people are saying, when you're not conforming, they get rid of you. I'm just glad they didn't come and find me and put me in jail. But the truth will continue. And all these platforms that are out there trying to silence free speech, shame on you. And for all you people who are saying, oh, well, no, we just don't want to hear all this. No, they're coming after you next. And it won't be in the form of going on Twitter or Facebook. It'll be something else that you want, that job that you want. And they'll say, well, they don't have to hire you because it's a private company. Oh, but I'm Black. Oh, but I'm gay. I'm a lesbian. Yeah, but they don't have to hire you because it's a private company. You got to think of the message. Be careful. Look at what's happening. And it's happening quicker than what I had anticipated. Beware. That's my opening. Guys, what do you say?
It feels like a different day in America than it did 24 hours ago. That is for sure. A lot of people mentioned that we could see a communist takeover with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and people called those people crazy a lot of times. But now what we're seeing is a direct censorship of everyone that doesn't think a certain way. It feels like it's going into a one-party Chinese communist system here in America, unfortunately and sadly. I believe in the American people, and I think we will get by this, but we are in store for some dark times ahead of us for sure.
Yep.
Well, last night I put on a very short tweet. Maybe that's what got me out. But what I said was I was really kidding around with like a Jeff Foxworthy expression, where he says, you know you're a redneck, but I changed it. You're a fascist. if you believe that it's perfectly okay to take the president off of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And I had a big argument last night with my own daughter, who accused me of being like a Nazi. That, this is going to define you, that you're a Trump supporter, you're a racist, and this and that. I said, the only thing that defines me is that I want the freedom to say what I want to express.
Mm-hmm.
And, bravo to everybody that voted for Biden, because look at what you've accomplished. You've sent us into the dark ages. And I don't know how we're going to get out and organize, Rob. I'm so grateful that you have, Andrew, and you have this kind of platform that maybe it can expand, because people need to connect more than ever. I just got a call from my son. He said, Dad, keep your text to a minimum and stay off the phone. No more than 3 minutes. We're being surveilled.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this has been going on, the metadata, everything they were talking about the internet and everything, that we've been accused of everything being a conspiracy theory. Wrong.
Mm-hmm.
These have been programs that have been going on. Like I love the movie with Will Smith, Enemy of the State, right?
Yeah.
Where he's got in his pants and his shoes and his hair, he's got receivers and what Gene Hackman said is that the telecommunications industry has been in bed with the intelligence community since the 40s.
Yeah.
This is not funny. And, you're right, Rob. You just don't know when you're going to get a knock on the door that you're a dissident.
Mm-hmm.
You're not pulling the party line. Imagine what the campuses are going to be like within a few months and schools. I mean, it's going to be, we got Trump. Meanwhile, you'll have no freedoms left.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend, Ava Armstrong. Everybody knows Ava, right? Pretty much, if you don't. And she's always talking that we're like one step away. And on some level, I believe it or not, it's a relief that we're actually having this conversation tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
I agree.
I mean, one of the things that what people fail to realize is, everyone's like looking at Trump, but even before Trump, I had predicted this and I had spoken about this. And what we have to realize when people are saying, well, this was just Twitter, this is just Facebook, but it's more than that. When you start looking at their bottom lines, you start looking at the audience that they're after. They could care less about Americans. They're looking at China. China pulls the strings. China got Google to change their algorithm so that nothing negative would appear in the search engines. China got the NBA to reverse all this talk about Hong Kong. Walmart wants to get in China. Well, Walmart is in China. So they're bound to China by changing their usual staples to cater to the Chinese individuals. Now, some people would say, oh, well, you guys are, you're in this conspiracy theory, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what if we're not? And when you look at everything around you, you turn over different products, it's all made in China. And if you want access to China, you have to honor China's wishes. China is winning, okay? Because in China, the free speech we had on Twitter does not exist. So if China is able to silence the president of the United States, and I don't care how you feel about him, I don't care how many times you say, well, he should have said what he said. Oh, really? Whereas you have the Iranian leaders that are shouting death to America. They're saying they want to kill us. Or you have terrorists that are openly plotting on Twitter. You go to YouTube, they're teaching you how to make different bombs. They're recruiting people. But then you want to silence the president. You want to silence people who don't agree with the left, because the left is in bed with the China Communist Party, and you can't see that? Oh, it's an exaggeration. Oh, really? Well, okay, just stay tuned. My Twitter account is still up there. Look at some of the tweets that I was tweeting back in 2010, 2012, 14, 16. President then. So, censor the information that's getting out there. People are completely unaware of it. They don't know what's happening. They could tell you anything and you will believe it. Now they want to say that the violence that took place yesterday was insurrection. Oh my God, how dare they? Oh, really? But look at the violence during the spring and the summer. Buildings were burned down. People were killed. Black neighborhoods were burned down. Now, I'm sorry. What happened to the Capitol should not have happened. But at the same time, these people on the left wanted the Capitol burned down. They didn't care anything about the Capitol because they say, well, black people built the Capitol. It was from slavery. Oh, my God. So they could have cared less. Now, all at once, the left is concerned about the Capitol? Really? Now, all at once, the left is concerned about police violence? Really? Wait, no, they could barely mention David Dorn's name.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the folks out there probably don't even know who David Dorn is, or some of the other police who were killed. Oh, well, Trump this. Oh, really? Well, if you go back in 2017, Barack Obama said you need to go out there and get in their faces. And you argue with them and you tell them. So was he inciting violence? Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She's like, oh, well, these people, we don't care about this stuff that's being burned down. Maxine Waters, she said, you go and form a circle and you tell them you're not wanted here. Kamala Harris went on Stephen Colbert and she said, was so prophetic, it's not going to stop now. It's not going to stop before the election or after the election. Well, little did she know she was right. So when people come up to me and say, oh, well, you guys, you're just blowing smoke and I don't believe this. Okay, say what you will. But when things start going south for you and you start wondering what's happening, I don't understand this. What do you mean you don't understand it? We told you what was happening. Big tech is too powerful. And this just played right into their hands. Donald Trump is not perfect, but he has always said this. And they waited until the moment for something like this to happen when they knew, hey, now the Democrats have the Senate and the House. We won't hear any more about removing Section 230. Look it up. Understand what it is. They can do basically anything they want. Then they can say, oh, Section 230. Oh, we can remove this person because we don't like this person. We don't like what they're saying. But you like what Iran is saying. You like what China is saying. And not only that, when you look at the rules and regulations, it's like you can't, no sex, no violence. Oh, really? People are sending me porn all the time on Twitter, sending me pictures of violence, saying what they'll do to me. But that's okay, you know. Now, if I was a, you know, black, liberal, gay, kissing Biden's every word, they would love me. I imagine right now if I start just swearing allegiance to Biden, oh, come back in. Oh, yeah, we made a mistake. Oh, come back in. No, it's not that way. Because you stand for something or you fall for anything. So they might have taken away Twitter. They can't take away my voice. And I will continue to speak on these things. And I'm sure that you, Ray, and Andrew will do the exact same thing.
Speaking of which, please check out us on other platforms, because there's a good chance we will be kicked off Periscope very soon, just like we were Twitter. If you want to find us on YouTube, which is a much better quality video than Periscope anyways. And yes, we did all get blocked. Pizza Pop, all three of us got suspended from Twitter today. If you'd like to find us on YouTube, just go to youtube.com, type in MegaMedia, M-A-G-A Media, in the search bar, and we are the first YouTube channel that comes up. So all you have to do is click on our channel. It's a logo with 2 M's, and you hit subscribe. We are also on D Live, and you can go to D Live and type in @RobJH1, and it should pull up his channel where you could watch us live 3 times a week, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And Rob, where could they find us on Facebook?
We're also on the Daily Motion, Rob JH1, and on Facebook, Multicultural Conservative Foundation. But if you type in Rob JH1 again, you can find us. You can go to Parler, you click on the link, and you will see us there. So yes, we're on all the platforms that Andrew just mentioned, and hopefully we'll be on other platforms, and Ray Poetry will be joining us also.
And Ray, since you got canned from Twitter today, where is the best place for people to be able to find you?
Well, I had hoped it would be on Parler, but that seems to be jammed up. But I am at Ray Poetry on Parler. You know, my problem with Parler, I got on about 1.5 years ago, and it seemed like only the big accounts get attention on Parler. I mean, I put up some, you've heard some of my poetry. Some of it is some kick-ass poetry.
Yep.
And I could put up a great poem and maybe 15 people see it. So, you know, someone like Dan Bongino, I met Dan Bongino when he was in Palm Beach County in Florida. A great guy, brilliant, you know, kept this into this, all the information on Spygate and everything that was going on. But, you know, he's got to step up, and it's important for small voices to have a big voice. And when they start doing that, they're no better than what we had before. So Parler, I'm looking at, I do have a YouTube channel, but you know, I haven't really utilized that, but I hope to do a little of that. But otherwise, I'm kind of stuck. I'm still on Facebook at Ray Brookstein, and maybe I can start putting some political stuff, even though my family may despise me. But c'est la vie. I mean, you know, I'm going to be 60. I'm 68 years old. I really don't have anything to lose at this point. You know, whatever monies I have. It's not going to go up that much. Not going to go down that much.
Right.
And you know, but if I were my son's age, I would be concerned. My grandchildren, I would be very concerned where this is all going. And you know, I even have a few poems tonight, maybe not right now, but as the show progresses, I could always pull out something.
Absolutely.
Do you have one ready for us now, Ray?
I do. I think it would be appropriate. I wrote it on Halloween of 19. And I gave a trademark because I called it the Kane Mutiny. And basically, that's what we're looking at now is a mutiny, aren't we?
Yep.
There's a mutiny on the Bounty. 4 rats command the ship. Blackbeard, Nan Pelosi, Nadler, Schumer, Schiff. They've swashbuckled the process every step along the way. To hell with any rule of law. They're pirates seeking prey. It started on Election Day. Every minute they persist. They've boiled the blood of patriots. We hate it's come to this. Our republic teeters on the brink, the left blinded to the truth. They've been sold a bill of goods. Their own freedom they could lose. The Senate must reclaim the deck, bring the ball in chains. Traitors all must walk the plank till no coup d'etat remains. We're sick of flimsy evidence. There's no meat upon the rack. After 3 years of hoax and false arrests, it's time to take our vessel back. So you keep poking at the bear, grizzly, black or brown. Francis Key would clearly see our flag will not be taken down. Don't let sedition derail our chief. It's no time to stand at ease. It's time our armada point the guns and take back the 7 seas.
Yes, we have got to stand up. We've got to be tall because this is the only way. We can't allow them to silence us. We can't be afraid. This is just the beginning of this. I know that they think that they have won the battle, but the war continues on. We have to be strong and resolute.
And
I think about some of the postings that I have put up today, not second guessing myself, but I guess the show that we had on last night must have either had touched a nerve or it was already in design for them to remove us. And I think it was in design for them to remove us because the excuse that they gave made absolutely no sense, because the only thing that I had posted were things that they had said themselves. I just reposted everything that the liberals had said when they said, oh, well, if this were black people, this would happen and that would happen. Well, I just went back and got the videos of blacks burning down different places in Seattle and Kenosha. And it's like, okay, what happened to them? They were burning down their own neighborhoods. What happened? When they thought that the president was going to use tear gas in DC, they bitched and moaned, oh, no, how could he? And now it's, why didn't they?
I'm trying to just locate the letter because somebody asked the question, what do we do? So I'm just trying to take a look at the note that I got.
Well, I have mine right here and I can read it to you. It says,
okay, I got mine too.
It says, hello, your account, RobJH1, has been suspended for violating the Twitter rules, specifically for violating our rules against platform manipulation and spam. Yeah, okay. Yes. You may not use Twitter services in a manner intended to artificially amplify or suppress information or engage in behavior that manipulates or disrupts people's experience on Twitter. Okay, what was I manipulating other than showing you guys what you had said? I think one of the things that might have gotten them is when I retweeted the hateful message by the mullah of Iran talking about death to Americans. And I'm thinking, okay, he still has an account. So let me just remind you guys of that. So it continues. Note that if you attempt to evade a permanent suspension by creating new accounts, yeah, okay, we will suspend your new accounts. If you wish to appeal this suspension, please contact our support team. So I contacted the support team and they responded back. We're like behind in responding to this, so it might take some time. Yeah, okay, Twitter, whatever you say. Whatever you say here. But seriously, I mean, I was out and about and I got a text from at Small Town saying, hey, first from Heather saying, what's going on with Twitter? And I'm like, Twitter? I'm like, what happened? And then at Small Town told me, and I'm like, okay, I went on, I had access to my account. And then I went back to tell at Small Town. Then I went back and was like, you've been suspended. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's how it was for me too. Like I didn't even believe it at first because it was still letting me scroll on the account for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden everything was just gone.
Yeah. Someone said, hold on, let me just read this real quick. Rob, it is different if Biden invited BLM, held a rally, and said, go burn the Target store. Well, I guess you haven't been looking at the news this summer because when they were burning it down, you had Black Lives Matter, you had people on TV, the news saying, oh, it's just property. Who cares? Joe Biden wouldn't even address it. He was afraid that had he said anything, they might not vote for him. So again, you have to read the tea leaves. You have to see what they're not telling you. And again, that is a misinformation that is so dangerous that people are completely uninformed. Don't take my word for it. Go to DuckDuckGo. Okay, don't just go to Google because Google is only going to show you what they want to show you. If you go to Google right now and try to find the video of Joe Biden telling Black people that you're not going to matter in 2 years' time because the Hispanic community is going to take over, you'd be hard pressed to find it. Okay, you would be hard pressed to find the video of Barack Obama saying earlier on in his administration that people coming across the border can't do that. But you can easily find the video of him saying, oh, let him come, let him come. So again, the media has been compromised along with big tech. And people will say, well, why do you keep talking about big tech? Because big tech controls the advertising dollars. Mm-hmm. The media, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, the power that they have is nothing compared to big tech. Big tech can shut them down. A lot of them advertise on Twitter and Facebook. Twitter and Facebook are almost like advertising companies, as well as Google. Look at how they suppress the free speech of the New York Post. And they have done it to so many other businesses that have been complaining that they can't get their product out there. Google won't do it because they want them to pay a high premium. So that's you got to do the research and look at this. What we're talking about is only one little small part of it. But when you put it together, you begin to see, wait a minute, they are controlling what we see and hear. And unfortunately, a lot of people formulate their ideas and opinions based upon that. Remember The Daily Show? how a lot of young people only use that for knowing anything about the news. They didn't look at the paper. Whatever Jon Stewart said, that was the gospel. That's dangerous. He's a comedian. But he was their man to go to. So now you have big tech, Twitter and Facebook. A lot of people utilize those platforms for the news. That's dangerous. Because a lot of the stuff that's put out there don't care. Stream has failed. I wanted that Twitter cut us off. Go ahead, guys.
Well,
but yeah, we've got to be careful. You've got to get out there. You've got to do your research, and you have to be aware of what's happening around you. As simple as that.
I mean, I've been talking to some friends on Facebook, and we're just kind of happy that we have each other's cell phone numbers because we really feel like cut off. It's like going, it's like a blackout. So the only news that you'll hear or see is what they want you to hear or see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if this isn't fascism, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line, you may not like the sound of it, but if you look at the comparisons in history, and when I had a podcast a year and a half ago, I did a show on the comparisons between what we were seeing in Hitler's Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And the parallels are astounding. One of the first things that Hitler did was he eliminated free speech.
Yep.
Number one, they had this, and you can listen to Goebbels or any of them. The first thing to go was the media. Now, back then, you didn't have the internet. So what they did is that newspapers and radio were only for the Reich. So that was the only thing they heard. The next thing was the Hitler Youth. They infiltrated the school system. And you could go on and on. They took guns. You could go on, and you go down the list, and what we're looking at is very serious loss of our freedoms. And I think you're right, Rob, that people think it's just us. They'll be coming for you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll see it in the form of taxes. You'll see it in the form of healthcare, where you get online and you're going to have to wait. What Bongino would call the rationing of healthcare. Either it's by price or rationing.
Yep.
You're going to see it in your taxes getting raised.
Mm-hmm.
People are already stressed, and we forgot about even the pandemic.
Right.
We're still in the throes of a pandemic, or they say,
Yep.
That's achieved their goal dramatically. I mean, they really pulled it off, didn't they? I mean, from start to finish. And now it's we haven't heard anything about the pandemic in the last few days. Why is that, Rob? What do you think?
Well, because they're too busy trying to get rid of the president, and they're trying to hide with whatever they're trying to hide with the pandemic. But if you make a valid point, what has happened with the pandemic is still here, because they know that he'll be gone eventually. They want to roll that back out there to scare people to doing what they want them to do. Look at our civil liberties that they have taken from us for the sake of saying you need to stay inside. And a lot of people believe it. Now, I'm not saying don't be careful, but many of the things that they have taken away, going to church, going to synagogue, going to temple, you better be afraid you can't do that. And just think about it. A lot of churches weren't filled in the first place. Now you have the mega churches that a lot of people will go to, but people were walking away from the churches anyway. Okay? But you can't go there. You can't visit your family. They keep putting distances between us, between people. They don't want you to talk. You can't communicate. So if you can't communicate face to face, there are no emotions involved. You can say whatever you want to say to the other person and run away. And it's just a feeling of coldness. Think about it, people. This is what they're doing. Now, some will say, oh, no, they're not doing that. Oh, yes, they are. It is by design. Mm-hmm. You have a generation of kids going to school who will not know what it's like to sit next to a classmate. will have no sympathy for that classmate, no feelings whatsoever. An entire generation. You have some school systems saying, oh, well, we won't be ready to go back to school until 2022. Folks, this is not good. There is something else that is taking place here. And Biden was able to usher it in. Now, we had a guest on last night, Manny Alejandro, who's an attorney. I want to make certain that you all understood what he was saying. One thing that to me is that he said, yes, cheated, they stole the election. Attorneys that the president had were unable to prove it. But the key takeaway is that it was stolen. Everyone knows that. And if you don't know it, if you start saying, show me the proof, I will say to you, I will submit to you, go and do your own research. Because no matter what I say, you'll say, oh, no, 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 no. So research it for yourself. I mean, you can even go to the different counties and request information as to who voted, how many people voted, the mail-in ballots and whatnot, Secretary of State. It's all public information. You can see that. They won't show you exactly who voted, but the numbers are there. You do it yourself. I think we had a guest on not too long ago, Howard Freeman, and he was breaking down some of the numbers. So again, the information is readily available if you're willing to do your research. So all of this is just a culmination as to what they're trying to do, which is a complete takeover of our day-to-day lives. And this latest thing that happened on January 6th, oh my God, they're definitely going to start taking away freedoms now. They say, well, you can't do this because of X, Y, Z. And you'll have a lot of people saying, oh, yeah, that's right. I believe that.
It's just speeding up the process. They were going to go ahead and do it eventually in the next couple of years anyways.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, I know I'm looking in the chat, and some of you are saying, oh, I should be on your show, yada, yada, yada. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop an email here. And if you have thoughts, if you'd like to be on the show, drop us a line. We'll look at it. We'll reach out to you. We'll see what you have to say. And then we'll take it from there. Because I think that we have to keep the voices together. Because we're no longer on Twitter. Twitter was one of our main platforms that we were able to reach, a larger audience. But we're now relying on you to spread the word as to that we're on other platforms. The platforms aren't perfect, as Ray mentioned. But Twitter wasn't perfect when it first came out. Neither was Facebook. But they're getting there. And the most important thing is that we band together to keep our voices out there. We cannot allow them to suppress free speech, to suppress our liberties, and to express free thought because they don't agree with it. That's just wrong. I mean, I might not agree with what you have to say, but I will fight to the dying day because you have the right to say it. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy about all of this is to see so many people from our great country cheering on this communist takeover and censorship, just completely dismantling the opposite side speech on every single platform on social media. We saw President Trump banned from Facebook. We saw President Trump banned from Twitter tonight. And now they're trying their best to remove Parler from the App Store and the Google Store. And you've got all these people cheering about it. It's just like, how stupid and how clueless can these people be? It's right in front of their eyes, communism, and they don't even see it.
Well, they look at it as we deserved it. And this is the real sickness that we're seeing. When you start blaming people, normal, everyday, good people that raise families, that work, that contribute to the community, and then you treat them as trash, that really undercuts what I mean. I gotta be thinking, what am I doing in the United States?
Yeah.
And is there really any other place? And the list is getting very slim. Someone just posted, France is shut down, Germany shut down. There's my mom is English. Maybe I can, but UK is a problem too.
Yeah, it's worse.
Then there are people who are going to want to get off the grid. Yeah. You're going to see people going into these more desolate areas out of the city. Rob, I don't know how you're surviving in New York City. Tell us about New York City.
It's not the New York City that I'm used to. When the shutdown first took place, you could tell that it was a very cold and desolate place. Things are now trying to open up, but the restaurants are dead. People are miserable. New York is already, as they say, a cold place, but it wasn't as cold as it is now. People are frustrated. You see empty apartments, buildings that were going up, the homelessness. I don't blame that on the pandemic necessarily. I blame that on our incompetent mayor, Mayor de Blasio, who is using this as a way to usher in communism, which is something that I just don't understand. It didn't in Venezuela, in Cuba. Why would people gravitate and want something that just doesn't work? We're going to take all the money, we're just going to give it to everyone. Well, someone's going to decide, well, I don't want to work. I'm just going to sit down and let you work. It's like the thought process. I've talked to people and they're like, have you seen Venezuela? They're eating out of the garbage. I remember I was on jury duty once and I was speaking with this one lady who had, like, I think 3 doctorate degrees. She was a doctor, PhD, medical doctor, and she was also a lawyer. And I'm like, my gosh, all those degrees, you should be employed. She said, you know what? I clean houses. Like, excuse me? She said, yeah. She said, because in my country, before I came here, I couldn't get work. She said, America is like the land of opportunity. She said, and I came here, couldn't speak the language, so I started cleaning houses so that I could get my certifications up, because the schools that I went to there, they're no good. So I look at Americans and I'm thinking, we're not the best country. We have issues. Yes, racism exists. Yes, everyone is fighting for that one piece of cheese. But to throw everything out, including the bathwater in the bathtub, or something that just simply does not work, is scary. It is extremely scary. So how is New York? New York is hemorrhaging. And I mean, I've thought about it myself. I'm like, is this the place I want to be? I came here for the culture, for the entertainment, knowing that I could go outside. I didn't have to have a car. And when I came here, it wasn't the New York that it is now, or the New York that it was in 2016 or 2017 or 18. 2019, oh my gosh, it hit us hard. So I began to question and say, is this the place I want to be? Because our mayor is just tearing it down, and the people who are looking to run for mayor, they're no better. The city will not recover, in my opinion, unless we get a strong conservative at the helm. Because the people who are looking at running now, their ideas, it's the same thing. And a lot of folks just run around so they can say, well, I was the first. I was the first lesbian. I was the first gay mayor. I was the first this. Like, we don't care about the first, the identity politics. We want someone who can get the job done. What about that? Getting the job done. And you can be black, you can be white, you can be gay, you can be a lesbian. But running on those platforms, the identity is meaningless if you can't get the job done. You can be the most proper person out there, affluent, speaking many languages. But if you can't get the job done, I have no need for you. And I think back to what our guest said the other night, Trisha Flanagan. And she said, there's a misconception that you have to start the local school board, the parents-teacher conference, and then city councilman in order to seek higher office. And she said, no, that's not true. If you see that there's a vacancy and you feel that you have the skill set, go for it. I present to you Donald Trump. Not a politician, just a regular Joe Blow businessman, granted a billionaire. But the establishment is going to make certain that there are no more Donald Trumps. Because remember, he funded his own campaign. So he wasn't beholden to anyone. And they don't like that because they want to be able to call you up and say, hey, Mr. President, give me this and give me that. He didn't have to do it. Now, the man was not without fault. Come on. We see that. But his heart was in and for America. As simple as that.
I was happy to see driving around. I'm in South Florida, and it was nice to see the school zones. The yellow lights were on, and it was like I was like, wow. I was a little bit of shock that the kids are in school in Miami-Dade County.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, I worry about the children, you know, because it's their future. I mean, like I always say, we're kind of like the end of the road. My mom is 95. She's not worried about her, but she's worried about everybody else, what they're
Right.
going to inherit. And may I read a poem?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because for me, you know, I've spent the last, I'm sorry if you're hearing some background noise. My mom didn't know I was going to be on where she could get her headphones on and just listen to the TV. So I'm going to read it. It's called A Beautiful Mind, kind of a takeoff of the Russell Crowe movie.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't yet completed his first presidential term, but already some textbooks make him appear like a worm. Shame on the school boards for judging his brain. Indoctrinating children don't decry and defame. Their job is to teach them how to write and to read, adding some numbers, learn technological speed, have them think for themselves, stand on their 2 feet, not politically brainwashed due to Hillary's defeat. Teach them the value of freedom of choice. Don't dictate your history. They should have their own voice. These children are precious, our future in hand. Teach them about civics, the rule of law in our land. Inserting your politics has no place in your school. Go preach to your choir, not inside of their room. Start with a prayer, crossing their heart. Let them rejoice in our freedom, which sets America apart. Give them pride in our country, not divide them in kind. Polish, don't tarnish their beautiful mind.
Great poem, Ray.
So, you know, there's a lot at stake. We know it. We just don't know quite what to do about it. And if they interrupt our ability to organize, it's really very dangerous. And we're really at a tremendous disadvantage. You know, we were able to put Donald Trump in the White House in 2016, and you can see the result of all of that. All hell is broken loose. And it's led us to tonight. This whole thing has been planned to perfection. And, you know, and if people are celebrating that, I really think they have to question whether what their motives are, or whether, you know, they just think, well, get rid of Trump and it's all going to get better. It's not. This is just the beginning. In my opinion, it's never really been about Trump. It's been about the American values that we're fighting for. Don't you guys agree with that?
I agree.
I mean, Trump, we knew he would come and there would be a time when he goes. I was hoping for a second term, you know, but he had a first term, the name of my book. But at some point, he was going to be gone. That's the way politics is.
Right.
But
and the thing is
the legacy is just in such danger.
Yep. And you know, the other thing is that, you know, I appeared on another show, and the discussion was, you know, what happens after Trump? Who's going to take up the mantle? You know, that has always been the thought in my mind. Who's going to take up the mantle after President Trump? And what do you guys say?
It's not looking good anytime soon, if you ask me, from what we're seeing from these weak Republicans. As I mentioned earlier in the show, it's looking more and more like a one-party system where they're just going to completely shut out 75 million Americans and how they feel. It's going to take a big effort. I know Michael Johns and others have said a third party will not work, so we're going to have to take back our Republican Party. But it might be years.
Yeah, because you have a lot of feckless people out there. I was watching Lindsey Graham. He appeared on Sean Hannity singing an entirely different tune, saying, oh, well, I did this. And I spoke to Nancy Pelosi, and I'm telling her, you know, you need to pull back with this impeachment. And I'm going to contact, you know, the president-elect to tell him he has the power. to stop this. These people, they don't want to stop it. They want to punish President Trump because they don't want him to run again. Not that I think that he will, but just in case, because they're afraid of him. They are afraid of him. So they want to make certain that he does not run again at all. They want to make certain that they punish all of his supporters as if though this is Nazi Germany, simply because we have a different thought process than theirs. It's like, are you serious? They feel that what they're saying is the right way. And this whole notion looking at us, this is what I have to say. Numerous occasions, and you can go back at my Twitter feed in 2008. For some reason, Americans feel that our democracy is what everyone in the world wants. I agree. It's one hell of a democracy, the freedom that we have, and a lot of people want to come here for it. But those same people, some of them, when they come, they will bring the repressive ways of the countries that they left. Look at Ilhan Omar. Look at a lot of the communities that have been created here in America from those other countries, the Muslim communities. They're doing the same thing, holding on to those same outdated traditions. So yes, they want to come here so that they can practice that. But if you were to go to their country and try to set it up, many of them would say, no, that's not going to work here. Now, yes, there are some that would say, yeah, we like that, but we don't want it here. I remember when I was in college, and a lot of the Arab guys and Hindu guys, they just couldn't wait to get to America because they loved it. But they didn't like a lot of our culture. They came here, they wanted to sleep around with all the girls in the United States. But to bring that back to their country, it's like, no way, I don't want that here. So we are deceived in thinking that our way of life is wanted by other countries. Yes, they want to come here and make the money. Yes, they like the idea of the freedom. But some of them, when they retire, it's like, I'm going back home. I don't like it here. You guys are crazy. So I say those are the things that we have to be careful of. We have to look out for. Because what we think that other countries won't, they don't necessarily want it. And what's equally interesting is that we're always saying, if they do want it, they need to rise up. The people in Iran, they need to rise up and overthrow the government. Really? They should rise up and overthrow the government because they find the government oppressive. We have the right to vote when we don't like something, but then you have others who will steal and cheat so that our voices can't be heard. That is extremely dangerous. Sean G927, thank you for joining us. How's it going, man?
It's going okay. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, we're surviving. We're kicking. How are things on Twitter?
You know what? I'm still here. I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm still alive there. I'm not extinct yet,
Okay.
On there I have the dinosaur profile, but like right now it's like I'm not dead yet, I mean, maybe in the morning, but it's still going okay,
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I mean, I'm just kind of taking in all these things that are going on here, Trump lost his Twitter account, all his big people lost their Twitter account, Now, on the one hand, on the negative side, it's like, man, that's doom and gloom. People losing all their accounts, That's like, oh, this is communism coming in. This is like the sadness, On the flip side, this is the same stuff that was predicted by some of Trump's main people, people that they were called the conspiracy people, the Q people, like they had predicted a week ago or months ago that this was going to happen, that Trump was going to get booted from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever else. So, I mean, this is part of the plan from that angle. So, I mean, that gives some sort of optimism. And it's just about figure out what's going to happen here once we get to the end of January.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, well said, Sean. And Sean, since you're still on Twitter, can you tell the people who have been banned, like Ray and Rob and I, what it's like on there? Just how many followers are people losing? Are the people clearing out? Is it bad?
Well, what I would say is, it's hard to tell for everybody, but like thousands is a good mark anyway. Some people might be a few thousand, some people might be tens of thousands, and I can't speak for everybody else, but it's been a real big, what we call a purge. So, I mean, hey, in the big scheme of things, okay, a Twitter page isn't going to last forever. However, it's a pretty alarming way to do things because, like, let's say you were a Trump supporter, okay, you would follow him on Twitter because that's what everybody did for the last, I don't know how many years. And if you hated him, if you hated Trump, you would also follow him on Twitter just to see what he says or to troll. And those people have also lost him on Twitter. So it's like it's a horrible business move from Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, for doing something like this. I mean, it's a lose-lose situation.
Right, because
I think back to the last couple of years with the congressional hearings, where they brought all of them onto, the congressional floor, and basically they just BS their way. They were no one put their feet to the fire at all. And now they're like the most powerful people in the world because they can just chop your head off. It's really like a guillotine. A lot of people really feel like they got hurt today, because it's like cutting off a leg. You want that source of news, and now it's gone. It's not pretty.
Well, like I said, democracy dies in the dark and in censorship. When they're trying to silence people, they don't want people's voices heard if it's not what they're thinking, their thought process. And again, it goes back to, you look at the mullahs who are still on Twitter. A lot of folks that you would think would have been censored, they're still there with some of the hateful messages. The messages that came out on January 6th from some of the folks in the media is shameful. And not just January 6th, before then, when the president was elected, going back to 2016, and their voices were never silenced. When the guy came out, Reza Aslan, and said that Nicholas Sandmann had a punchable face, and some of the other nasty comments that were made, no one said anything about it. It was complete silence. Like, nothing to see here. But the moment you retweet the president or agree with something that he's saying, I mean, I went back and I listened to last night's show. What did we say that was so offensive? We denounced on more than one occasion the violence. And look at some of the tweets. I'm like, maybe it was a tweet that I retweeted saying that, hey, you guys didn't take this tweet down from one of the mullahs in Iran. And then I posted Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi saying, get in their faces. Kamala Harris saying, well, this is not going to stop. Maybe it got to them. Maybe they didn't want people to see that, oops, it's a double standard here. And he's reminding us of it. And that's what my Twitter feed has been. I'm like, I'm reminding you of what you said then compared to what you're saying now. Maybe they couldn't take it. Because I'm telling you, it goes way back to 2015 with commentary being made. Even Tony Bobulinski, I said, what about this? A lot of people don't even know about this guy. So it makes you wonder, what the heck was it about? Like,
Rob, if I can say something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, looking at things that happen on that platform today, right? And it could have been something that someone even put in their profile. They could put MAGA in their profile.
Yep.
CAG in their profile, an American flag, They could I saw some that they put General Flynn in their profile because we've had some General Flynn groups on that Twitter feed, and those people have gotten booted from there.
Wow.
And it might have just been having Twitter see General Flynn in your profile, or something like a hashtag, a MAGA, or whatever else. I mean, it's that crazy right now, you know?
Yep.
Well, it's
And
all about the algorithms.
yeah.
That's how they work.
Well, I'm
they'll
looking
pick
at
out
I'm looking at my profile, and I don't have MAGA there at all.
could be
I have
something else.
MegaMedia.org. Yeah, contributor. So maybe that was it.
Anything
It
they
could have
say
been.
MAGA,
Yep.
that's the kiss of death.
Right, but should that be the kiss of death? And when people say, well, you know, it's a private company and they can do whatever, but see, that's dangerous, because you had private who on their bake a cake for this gay couple, and it wasn't what people thought it was. It was something completely different. They had made other cakes for them, but then they took it to the Supreme Court, and they said, "Oh, well, we're going to sue you. We're going to do this." So, if that is a case for a private company, what if Twitter, a private company, decides, "I don't want to hire you, Rob Harper," and I say, "Well, why don't you want to hire me? You're not hiring me because I'm black." You see where I'm going with this? If we allow this to happen, they're setting this precedent by, "Oh, we don't like this, and we can do it because we're a private company." Why can't private companies pick and choose who they hire? It's a very dangerous road that we are embarking upon, and people need to be aware. Because you're thinking now that it's no big deal, but trust me.
It's bad. I mean, I've always said that if I were, you know, I'm retired now, but if I was in the workplace, I wouldn't have a social media identity.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be honest anymore. That's the problem. Right. You can't say what's on your mind. Does people realize how dangerous this is?
It has to be groupthink, and the way you're thinking has not. I mean, they make it seem as if though that you're Nazis simply because you're saying no, it's red. They want to say no, it's bluish red. No, it's actually red, and they want to cancel you. That's the word, cancel. We're going to cancel you. It's very dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. Like the double standard with Warnock, what he did to his wife. We're told you're supposed to believe every woman, especially when it comes to a conservative, but when it comes to a liberal, oh, forget it. It's no big deal here. Look at the woman who accused Joe Biden. No big deal.
Or Keith Ellison.
Keith Ellison. It's extremely dangerous that they get to pick and choose. And I don't care what anyone says. When judges are making decisions based upon mob rule because they're afraid, that is extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous because you have to be willing to go that extra mile and know your life shouldn't be threatened. But at the same time, you can't make decisions based upon mob rule. Look at Josh Hawley. And people were saying they should be kicked out of Congress. Well, what about Eric Swalwell? Why is he still there? I don't get it.
It's two levels of justice. These are the things that really disturb us that we've seen over the last few years. That, you know, tell me one Democrat that's been held accountable for anything over the last. Name one. They can't.
No.
It's like they asked Jack, you know, on Twitter. Well, can you name a liberal that you've, you know, shadow banned or canceled? They couldn't do it.
No.
We have been targeted, and we're being profiled.
Yep.
Right? We're being profiled. I mean, there isn't they say that if you walk down the street or go to a store, you've already been on a camera at least 15 times.
Yep. Yep.
It's 1984, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, I was born in 52. So when I read the book, it was like, wow, that's a long way away. Well, it kind of crept up on us, and now look at it. It is right here. It has arrived. And people don't think it's normal. See, that what they've done is they've made these decisions seem normal and acceptable to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
And then that leaves the rest of us being targeted. 75 million, 80 million people. disenfranchised. Now, last night's show was very interesting with the attorney. I thought I was just watching it. I wasn't a participant, as you know, last night, but he talked about the legal failures, that they waited too long, and we got outmaneuvered in spite of the fact that there really was voter fraud. And what kept coming to my head, I said, this is an election. Isn't it a counting operation?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we should be examining every ballot and every machine if we really had a problem. What would be the legal problem with just counting? I don't get it.
Well, what he was saying is saying that they should have brought prior to the election. First of all, they're saying that it's not for them to make the decision. It should be the state legislatures. That's where it lies. But for them to look at it, to invalidate votes that were already counted, well, then you're now disenfranchising those voters. You're saying that, hey, my voters were disenfranchised, but what about the ones who voted in good faith? So do you want me to go in and disenfranchise those voters as well? So if there was an issue, it should have been brought up beforehand. And it makes sense because with any election in the different states, the person who's running, you will have attorneys who are familiar with the laws, the election laws, and you're making certain that everything is copacetic. So a lot of states, as we know, went in and started changing the way people could vote. Now, you would think that based upon that, it's like, well, no, you can't do that. It can't be done right before the election. And had attorneys been looking at it, they could have raised the challenges then as opposed to after the fact. That all being said, he did say, yeah, the president had a case. There was malfeasance. He did cheat, but the attorneys that were representing him weren't necessarily schooled or had the knowledge base of election laws. And those attorneys who did have it backed off because they had been doxxed. And it goes into the mob rule. They were fearful for their families. And it should not be that way. So that information, a lot of people are completely unaware of. They're constantly saying, oh, well, the judges didn't want to listen to it. Oh, the judge is this. It's like, but look, there's a story behind it as to what happened. Granted, Trump should have had those people in place, and he did. But when they backed off out of fear, he went with the people who said, well, we can help you. We can get this over the finish line. But they couldn't, and they didn't. But it should not have been done that way, And it's most unfortunate, And then too, just to bring this back up, the whole thing with Mike Pence, that was just a complete debacle. Because many of the media are saying that, the president and his staff knew, or his attorneys knew, that Mike Pence could not overturn the election, and that they were telling people that. I go back and look at the tapes. I never felt that he could, but what I did think was that he would be able to go in and stand there, and when the senator said, hey, we object to the certification of these votes, he would have said, okay, send it back to the states and let your legislatures look at it and you guys resolve it. And once it went back to the state, I had no anticipation that they would come back and say, oh, well, this or that, because we only had 10 days. But what I did hope is that they would come back and say, yes, there was fraud. Yes, there were some votes that were done fraudulently. We don't have the time to move forward. And I think that had it been done that way, Trump supporters said, okay, at least we got the recognition on record so that everyone will know that there was fraud, because it did go back to the legislatures. But it didn't happen. Instead, Pence came out and said, well, there was a little attack. Pence comes out and says, well, I can't overthrow it, so I'm going to do this. So they were still arguing about this. But once they had that little takeover of the Capitol, some of the senators who were going to challenge the vote, so they say, decided not to. And again, they're saying, well, we're not going to because of what happened. Well, what happened? Well, the breach of the Capitol. Oh, so you were afraid. You're afraid now that if you go ahead and if you challenge the certification, that they're going to come after you. Because in my opinion, saying that you're not going to challenge it because you want to show them that democracy works, no, you're showing them that you're giving in to tyranny. as opposed to saying, no, we came here to challenge it, as Senator Hawley and Cruz did, and Gates did. They said, we came here to do it, and that's what we're going to do. But they had no one, they did not have the support, so they were overruled. So in my opinion, you're saying, well, no, as Loeffler said, I came here and I was going to challenge the certification. But in light of recent events, I am not going to. Okay, you caved in because you gave in to the mob crowd, that mob mentality. You were afraid. Because had you stood up and said, no, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to continue along the lines that with the previous intentions, that would have shown that she was a strong person and that she wanted democracy to live. But by caving in, democracy on the floor. It's unfortunate. It is most unfortunate. Sean, are you still with us?
Oh, yeah. Let me throw out a couple of points about going off of what you had just said, right?
Yes.
The first one goes back to, let's say, 2016, when they picked Pence as your vice president, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had heard, this is just a theory. These are not, this is not necessarily all the way 100% known, but these are theories I'm throwing out here. Is that Pence was like the establishment pick to be, vice president anyway. And it was more of a compromise between Trump and Pence to pick him as your, VP, and someone like Reince Priebus as, he was also on staff at that time. That was like emerging between the Trump people and the establishment Republicans, right?
Right.
And so that's what we saw happen, in some form. Secondly, moving forward now to just this past week or so, when the election was certified for Joe Biden and Pence certified that, the theory also went is like they needed to complete that move, to complete the steal, to make this a bigger crime for the Trump people than to prosecute. It's like you have to catch them on a bigger crime, and when they do that crime, that triggers things for you to do the deepest possible, prosecution. And I think it's you could even call it a trap, where it's like, hey, let's let them steal this election all the way. Once they steal this all the way, we can even throw a bigger hammer down on them after they do that, rather than if they just try to steal an election. But if they actually do steal an election, which they did, then you can throw an even bigger hammer down on them afterwards. And that's the hope, as far as we're concerned, right? That, you get the election turned back to Trump, and then you get even stiffer penalties for those that committed to this treason or this crime, whether it be Pence or anybody else. That's the hope, and that's what I'm going to go with for now.
Mm-hmm.
We're waiting. We're waiting. I've been waiting for, I hate to throw out names that have been a little disappointing, because you can't blame really everybody and anybody, but I just never got what Sidney Powell was doing. I supported Michael Flynn all along, even went to Washington 2 years ago to sell some books and raise some money for him, and everybody felt he was railroaded and so on. And Linwood, everybody was talking about the Kraken, and I'm not sure whether it was a K or with a C.
Right.
What happened to the Kraken? What is the Kraken? I mean, it was like, how do you pronounce Ghislaine? Maxwell, whatever her name was. I think everybody was stumped. Just where was this going? And I'd love to hear some comments from the group here.
Well, I'll start out. One of the things that the attorney said yesterday, I mean, he had questioned it also. One of our other guests, Michael Johns, had said the same thing, that, the whole thing with Sidney Powell, not to diminish from her accomplishments. I'm sure she's an accomplished attorney, but the whole Kraken thing, she's going to release the Kraken, and it never was released that we saw. Again, it just goes back to, there were other attorneys election attorneys familiar with the election law that had signed on to the president's team. But then once the Lincoln Project, or whoever they call themselves, started doxing a lot of these people, and they're looking at, hey, I've got my family I've got to think about, I have kids, I have my livelihood, they stepped back and said, we'll help you on a limited basis because we don't want to jeopardize our careers. So I guess she, being a single petitioner, agreed to stay on. But then at the same time, some of the things that she started throwing out there and not being able to readily back up just put things in a tailspin. Yeah, maybe she wasn't the right choice, the right voice to be out there, but she did agree to step forward. Point, the information her team said that she had nothing she wants to release. Who knows? You know, but it is what it is. She got kicked off of Twitter as well. So, but I mean, the whole idea as to what Twitter has done, what they are doing, is completely, I don't care if they are a private company, it's self-serving, and it's just the beginning of silencing voices, and it should not happen. And as I started off saying at the beginning of the show, it happened to us in this capacity, but there's a bigger picture at play that will be put together. And they will try to silence the truth. They will try to silence what we know. And because we know that Joe Biden is a feeble individual, if he messes up, we will never know about it because they will cover for him. And they will put the word out there. We are not supposed to talk about this, so do not talk about it. Remember Roosevelt, you know, he had polio, couldn't walk. A lot of people were completely unaware of it. So if Joe Biden wakes up one day, starts speaking incoherently, and he's on the phone to some world leader, like, who are you? I don't know who you are. We'll never know about it. And even if he gets on the big stage and he starts saying it, we'll never know. I mean, look at what's happening now. He's speaking from a teleprompter. He seems to have a lot more energy than he has had in the past. But whatever is happening, we won't know. And why is it that he has never had a physical? Most presidents, before they take the office, people start saying, we want a physical, we want a physical. We want to know, you know, if you're in good health. And that did come up, but of course the media suppressed it and said, nope, not the story we want to talk about, because we just want Trump out. So, I mean, I would lead me to believe that even had Bernie Sanders stayed in, he probably could have, you know, won this election. So it was anyone but Trump. And Trump had a lot of baggage. The media did not like him. I mean, when you look at it in hindsight, I think that one of the flaws that I think that he might have had is that he always felt that he could convince people that if I spoke with them, I could get them to see things my way. But I think what he failed to realize is that he wasn't dealing with rational people. There's no matter what he said, no matter how many times it made sense, they hated him. And they were not going to give him the victory or the credit, no matter what he did. You look at all the successes. To this day, they will not give him credit. So I think that he definitely misgauged that. And I think had he just realized, hey, these people are just saying, fuck me, I don't care about you. And had he went his way and said, this is what I've got to do, you know, who knows? Well, I know what would have happened. The same thing. They were going to go after him and take him out because it had to be anyone but Trump. And then today we see CNN running a piece. Oh, well, while all this was taking place, Melania was having a photo shoot. And I was brushing my teeth. What's the big deal? What was she supposed to do? And then we have Michelle coming out. They need to ban, when she came out with those comments, they should ban him permanently from Twitter. I knew that was going to happen. It was only a matter of time because she did the same thing to Roseanne. And of course, they can't disappoint the Queen or Michelle Obama. So it was just a matter of time before it happened. Any more thoughts you guys have?
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point there. I mean, going back to, you know, what we're talking about with the Democratic Party, right? I mean, they nominated Joe Biden, okay? And, seeing what their party is now and seeing what they're doing, it still makes me wonder. It's like, why didn't you just nominate Bernie Sanders? Because Bernie Sanders, like Joe Biden, is also old and senile, and he had a much bigger following than Joe Biden.
Mhm.
And he had people actually going to the rallies and actually getting excited about it. No matter how far left his rhetoric went, he still had a ton of people going to his rallies.
Right.
And it's like, you should have just nominated him if this is the platform that you're going to do now. And but to do this with Biden instead, with as senile as Biden is, I mean, it's just like, that doesn't make sense.
I
You should
think they
just
still couldn't sell socialism across the board, but I think they looked at Biden as a moderate. And, I don't know what the strategies were, but I don't think they had a chance with Bernie. We had even a better chance 4 years ago. But you're right, he had a big base, but it was a young base. It wasn't the older voter or the blacks or the Latinos or Asians or what have you. It was just a different demographic.
But I guess the point is, if you're going to steal the election anyway, then you could have kept him around, because if
Mhm.
you don't have to win it fairly, you could go by him and have that young base for your future.
True. Possibility. Ray, do you have another poem for us?
Just give me a minute. I'm thinking about a couple.
Okay.
Just give me a minute because I wasn't really prepared tonight. But
Oh no worries. We're glad that you came
yeah,
on.
there's a poem I've been wanting to read for a while,
Mhm.
and and it's a touchy subject because it's about the right to life.
Mhm.
And if you don't mind, I'd love to read this poem. Some people have said it's one of my better poems, but it talks to freedom. I mean,
Right.
this whole thing again, we've been vilified as conservatives
Right.
for even suggesting that abortion is murder.
Yeah.
Okay, that and it's women's reproductive health, completely ignoring that there is a life there
Right.
that's being taken.
Mhm.
And they never recognize this. This is another freedom that's on the table that we may never get back.
Right.
So I wrote a poem a couple of years ago. It's about 2 years ago, about this day 2 years ago, and it's called "A Voice from Inside." A flutter, a heartbeat, a life underway, a tiny kick from inside. I'll be welcome one day. I hear your voice echo in my tiniest ear. You're singing a song, it even tingles my rear. Though I haven't discovered what's happening to me, yet I feel every vibration of my own history. One day I will tell you how grateful I swear. I am the miracle, not a burden to bear. I hear there is trouble, so cruel and absurd. Adults who grew hardened would slay me, I've heard. How did this happen? Such murderous lies. If it's a sin on the outside, what's the difference inside? Someone please tell me. It's really insane. Conception has happened, yet I am to blame? Somebody please shield me from those who don't comprehend that the smallest among us are those we must always defend. I'm the human in humanity that starts with one cell. Let me breathe some fresh air. I promise a great story to tell.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Nice job.
Thank you, Sean. Our freedom is really on the line in so many ways that, we're I know it's a very disappointing evening, Rob, and on many levels, but maybe this is the wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Andrew? Maybe
right.
this is what we've been talking about.
I don't know about you guys, but part of me felt good deleting that Twitter app today.
You know, I was indifferent. I mean, something that Ray said that is so true. I mean, we knew that it wasn't going to last forever. I mean, after the next 13 days when the president left Twitter, a lot of people were going to walk away also. But maybe Twitter decided, well, before they dump us, we'll dump them. Maybe it was something like that. You know, you're going to dump your girlfriend before she dumps you. Maybe that's what Twitter was doing. They decided, well, you know, they're going to probably walk away. And I saw a lot of tweets with people saying, hey, I'm on this platform, I'm there. So they probably felt it. I mean, and they were saying that the reason why rid of Trump's his Twitter is they said that they could sense that there was going to be another uprising that was greater or larger than the one that took place on January 6th. Now, Twitter, they're not investigators. So how they came to that conclusion, maybe Jack was doing some yoga somewhere and he said, oh, there's an epiphany. There's going to be more violence. I don't know.
Did you see that Jack Dorsey said he got over 100 letters from Twitter employees that demanded he suspend Donald Trump's account?
Yeah.
You know, that's a possibility, but I think what really did it was when Michelle Obama, and she said that he must just suspend Donald Trump, remove him from the platform indefinitely. It's like, do you guys realize that you're trying to silence free speech?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even the media, they're now trying to get rid of Fox News. It's like, are you serious? I mean, these people are so dangerous. They're not journalists. I kid you not. Because even if you don't like what the other person is saying, they have the right to say it. I mean, you look at some of the things that's on social media. I look at Facebook. The fights, they have these fight scenes of people fighting each other. I mean, the porno on these sites. And then they were trying to get rid of Pornhub. I'm like, are you serious? The things that people send me on Twitter, I'm like, I don't want, and I was always wondering, why are people saying no porn, please? Mm-hmm. Because porn exists, but Twitter would say, we don't want none of that. It's just unbelievable.
I don't know about you guys, but I want to live in a free country where people can come online and say whatever the hell they want. If they want to post porn online, they can post porn. If they want to do drugs online, they can do drugs. I want to live in a free country where people can do what they want to do when they're adults. What we've seen today is ridiculous and not the America that I grew up on.
No, not at all. And if you don't want to see it, then you turn it away. If you don't want to hear what Trump is saying, then you turn it off. But he had so many trolls, so many in the media, like Jim Acosta watching him. So what are these guys going to do now? What are they going to talk about? They'll probably jump on Parler. I mean, I have a troll on Parler right now. How did you get here? Are you serious?
Yeah, they're outnumbered on there, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like they're going to go there and they're going to pontificate stuff. It's like, come on, folks, please.
And the thing is, too, with these social media things, I mean, they all have a lifespan, even though we don't think about it at the time. You know, back in, let's say, 2006, MySpace was the thing, you know.
Yep.
People went on MySpace, and that was one of the first social media things, you know. Before that, the biggest thing was like AOL Instant Messenger. I don't know if anybody was around to have that back in the day around, let's say, 2000. But, like, that was a huge thing then, you know.
Mm-hmm.
AOL Instant Messenger. And then, you know, Facebook after MySpace became like this biggest thing, you know, like, wow, you could get with all your friends from your whole life, people you worked with, went to high school with, went to college with, anywhere else, you know, you could all connect on Facebook. And then that seemed to move on to Twitter. And then that got into, you know, political Twitter. Trump did this on Twitter, this and that, you know, and these all go in phases. And now I think Twitter shot itself in the foot by, you know, preempting this purge with the Twitter supporters, you know, because Trump was doing fine just by tweeting his own thoughts without being censored, you know. So, I mean, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot with this because people are flocking to other sites. And, you know, hopefully for a site like Parler, it does well, but you never know what's going to stick.
Yep, because they're trying to deplatform Parler, trying to get rid of them because they don't, again, they want to just silence anything that they don't agree with, which is really unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. What about the old school message boards. You guys ever do message boards? I think I got on a message board the first in like the year 2000. I mean, it was a long time ago, but they still exist, and we still get a lot of views on our website trafficked through message boards because we can see where the views come from.
Oh, interesting.
I would love to join like a pro-Trump conservative message board if any good ones are around.
Interesting. No, I haven't been on a message board in a long time.
Yeah, that's a nice thought. I mean, it's something that's like, hey, it's a little bit old school, but at the same time, I think that's welcomed at this point.
Yep,
exactly.
Or like they say that the Trump dating site, wherever that is.
Yeah,
which I guess is kind of like Twitter anyway.
Yeah, we actually opened a message board about a year ago, but we just did not have the budget to buy a decent plan. We had kind of a cheaper looking board because the budget we had to use to spend on it. So yeah, we kind of threw in the towel on that for now, but if we had a bigger budget, we'd love to make a really good message board with free of censorship, or American patriots could come on and say whatever they wanted.
Yeah, so feel free to support our cause, so that we could keep this, as with everything, costs money. And, there aren't a lot of conservatives that are out there. So feel free to support our cause and donate. I mean, we're going to do, like I said, we're going to try to keep doing this for as long as we can until they just completely shut us down. And I wouldn't at all be surprised if they do attempt to do it, because they don't want any other voices other than their own out there. They talk about identity and everyone being different. But the moment you step outside the box and you come up with your own ideas, oh, we don't like you. Oh, that's hate speech. It's like, no, that's just common sense. It's like, come on. It's like, I'm just not thinking the way you think. So I just got a message from Newsmax that Rasmussen poll shows that Trump's approval rating rising. Now, that's going to drive them nuts. I mean, if he leaves office a martyr, they're going to go bunker.
Well, I think the more the news bashes him, the more popular he gets. I mean, after 4 years of Russia, and every other horrible thing that you could say about someone, he gained 12 million votes. Incredible.
I think that people are going to eventually start to realize that, wait a minute, what they did to this man, we might not like him, but what they're doing compared to what's been happening. Now, just imagine if there was someone like Newsmax is out there, Newsmax and ONN. If they keep showing those tapes over and over again, compare and contrast, but look at what happened this summer. And now they're complaining about what happened on January 6th. It's like there was more damage done this summer. It's like, okay, folks, wake up. But you got CNN playing and blasting in every airport across the nation. I mean, they're giving it away because no one will buy it. So, of course, that, changes people's thought process, thinking that CNN is the most, trusted name in the news network, and they're not. They're far from that. They're nothing but a bunch of lies, propaganda. So, but I don't know. It's scary. It is scary, but we will soldier on.
Ray, what did you want to add?
I just want to add that a lot of people I'm hearing, because of the the death at the Capitol and breaching the Capitol, that this has really hurt Trump's legacy, that he's taken a hit to his legacy. And I don't see it that way. I don't think that's the truth at all. And we're going to start to hear a lot of this, I think. They want to get the message that this guy was trouble, demented, all the adjectives that we've had to endure just in believing, that he had his heart in the right place. I mean, I always question people. I say, wait a second. Why did he get the Rosa Parks Award? And why did Don King and Reverend Jesse Jackson adore Donald Trump? But as soon as he ran for president, he became a racist. So this has been a mode of operation that, I saw it. Rob, you saw it. Andrew, you talked about it. I wrote 4 books about it, poetry books about it. And I was hoping there'd be a second term, but there it is. I was advertising my book on Twitter, so that's gone. So, RayRayPoetryWorld.com. Thank you. I got plenty of books. I signed them. It's also on Amazon. Maybe my book will become a little more special now if he if he's out the door in 13 days or whatever it is.
Right.
That's not going to be a very happy day in America for us, is it?
No, but we will soldier
No.
on. We will soldier on because we have the truth on our side.
It wouldn't be so scary if what happened today did not happen. Now it just feels like a whole new level because it's just open, shutting down everything that Trump represented, all of the voices that supported him. It just makes the whole Joe Biden experience that much more scary for me.
Yeah.
Well, I would still throw this out here is I don't give up hope on this. I think Trump has a hammer somewhere, and I think the hammer is ready to drop down.
Uh-huh.
And if that hammer drops down in the right spot and the right timing, you never know. I think that we could, Trump could be just fine. And
Man, we would love for you to be
Okay,
right.
Sean, I'm all ears. I hope it
And
happens
if
too.
so, hey, let's go on record and say that. Hey,
when you really
let's hope for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because he
never know.
he can still
back to
release
first,
a lot of the information that's been classified. He can declassify so that we can really. I mean, and I think that given the fact that Merrick Garland is going to be the Attorney General, and there's a possibility that they're going to shut down every investigation. We may never know what happened with this whole Russia collusion, who started it. We may never know, the genesis behind it, or see if Hunter Biden is going to be prosecuted because, they'll say this is a witch hunt. And that would be very bad for our nation if they were to sweep this under the rug.
And don't forget the number 13 days, right? 13 days are left. Well, remember, that's the amount of days Kennedy had with the Cuban Missile Crisis back during his time. So, I mean, there's some parallels there between the Kennedys and Trump. So, I mean, it's, it's all out there.
Do you guys think that, sorry, Sean, do you think there's a possibility that with this talk of them removing him from office, they're worried about what you're talking about and they're going to try and act here in the next couple of days, and by next Wednesday or something, Trump could already be impeached and out of office?
Yeah, because they wouldn't do that if they weren't worried, because you could run out the clock in 13 days or whatever it is, you know what I mean? But because you're trying to do this, there's some outside of worry. There's worry that he has something on them. Whatever that is, it could be a critical point into determining, what's going to happen these next 4 years, who's going to be in charge or who's going to be in jail. And that's the reality of it. And these people are afraid that they might be the ones going to jail and not into the White House. So there's so much out there.
Yeah. So he's got to release. He's got to, do something, release it. And I don't blame him for not showing up at the inauguration, because if he did, the focus would be on him and not on Joe Biden. So it's like, okay, they should be thankful. Okay, he's going to allow Joe to shine on his own as opposed to him sucking up all the oxygen out of the room, because they would definitely focus on him and not Joe. So
I don't want to see him on stage with those losers anyways.
Yeah.
Well,
Sean,
my theory on
I wanted to ask you, Sean,
sure,
your theory on what the hammer might be. I'm curious.
Well, from what I've been hearing, of what I've read anyway, is that the hammer would be something along the lines of like exposing the fraud, exposing these people into some sort of treason, exposing arrest, and there's some mass movement with that to where, the election is exposed as a fraud, a legitimate legal fraud, using the military on his side, that's what the hammer or the Kraken would be. And, some of these people that you think would be in the Biden administration will end up in jail instead. And, that's the one way to save the Trump presidency into term 2. And if that happens, hey, awesome, and that is the hope. And, we've got the clock is ticking. We've got less than 2 weeks likely to do that, and that's the hope. And notice as well, Trump never conceded, and some people think he came close to it. And, today he tweeted that he wasn't going to attend the inauguration on January 20th. Well, the key there is that inauguration will get bumped because of all these arrests that could be happening. So it's just we're throwing it out there, and let's hope for the best.
Right.
I was, just hearing about this executive order, this EO they're talking about. I wonder if there's any teeth in that's when from 2018 where you could say there was foreign interference in the election, internationally, and that, certain things could happen like confiscating things and arresting people and military tribunals. And I just don't feel that's going to happen.
Oh, so it seems that someone just said that they banned Rush Limbaugh. God, these guys are insane. This is insanity. This is insanity.
They're going for the heart. They're going for the jugular.
Well, like I said,
just Rush Limbaugh. The guy's got cancer. He's dying.
That my voice, I cannot believe it. I mean, I feel honored that they felt that my voice was a voice that people were listening to. Because sometimes I'm like, are they shadow banning me? But I guess it's like, oh no, we're gonna just take him out right now. Because I started losing. I mean, I got up this morning thinking, okay, I'll probably have like 10 followers. Okay, but I had lost another 1,000. And then I went out, I came back, and I'm like, whoa, I'm not there anymore. I went from 73,000 to zero.
Zero.
It is a bad.
You went from hero to zero, Rob.
I mean, yeah, from hero to zero. I'm like, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable. Yeah, my voice is that, like, man, it's that distinctive that people were listening, was beginning to resonate. Wow, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is
and
good.
One of the interesting rumors coming out of the other day at the Capitol is that someone stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop. Journalist Elijah Schaefer posted a picture of Nancy Pelosi's laptop wide open with her email account open.
Nice.
So I don't know. I don't usually agree with stealing, but after today, I don't have much sympathy for Pelosi and would love to see something come out of this laptop.
Do you think there'll be any more when they pardon people? Like, might we see Snowden get pardoned in the next week or two?
That would be nice.
Might we see Julian Assange get back to the U.S.? I always felt that he had his finger on exactly what happened with what they claim was the theft of Hillary's emails.
Well,
and Julian Assange, why they never brought home Julian Assange? They know he must know something, right, Rob?
Yep. But I think what would happen if he is if he's pardoned, I think that the president, he probably has like a lot of people in his back pocket. And right before he walks out the door, he'll probably pull the trigger. If he were to do it now, you have a lot of people like Ben Sass, who's a complete, oh my God. If you guys only knew how much I dislike that guy. I know I've said it before, but man, he does not miss an opportunity to attack the president. So I think it's like the president's going to weigh his options. It's like, okay, are they going to impeach me? Are they going to try to do this? I mean, it's a very small window for them to push that through. But knowing these guys and the hate that they have, not just for the president, but for the country, the hate that they have for free speech, the hate that they have for us to be able to go out and say, we don't agree with the platform of the Democrat Party. They're going to try any and everything. And of course, it's the media that's pushing this. And guess who's else behind it? China. China wants this also. So while people are saying, oh, China, they're laughing at us. And folks, they've been laughing at us. They were laughing at us. And we found out about Eric Swalwell, and they knew about it all this time. They were laughing at us when they said, oh, there is no Russia collusion. Are you guys stupid? They were laughing at us then. They were laughing at us over the whole Biden and the Ukraine thing. So they're not just now laughing. They've been laughing at us because they're saying, you guys don't have a clue as to what's about to hit you. So that's what they're laughing at. And they're celebrating that, hey, we got rid of our nemesis because he was standing up to them. So that's why they're laughing.
They're talking about articles of impeachment on Monday.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Monday. It's 48 hours from now.
Because they're afraid that he could possibly run again and he could possibly win. So if he's impeached twice, apparently he won't be able to run again. One time he can, twice you can't.
And
So effectively, they just want to destroy him and ruin him completely. And just one more thing, they're also saying, will he pardon his children? Will he pardon Rudy Giuliani? You know, he shouldn't have to do that. But because these people are so vindictive and they want to destroy everything about him, they would possibly try to go after them.
Oh, yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah. And what else is sad is these politicians from the left and the right who just keep throwing gas on the fire. Like this censorship today, banning President Trump from all of social media, that is not going to help heal America at all. No. That just put, like I said, throws gas on the fire and is just furthering the divide in this country.
Right.
And as we mentioned at the start of the show, I think we're going to be in for some dark times these next few years. I believe in the American people, and I think we will get over it at some point, but we have some rough years ahead of us, maybe like a Jimmy Carter administration.
Yep, definitely some rough patches. Yeah. Well, I want to say one thing. Go ahead, Sean.
What I was going to say here quickly was that, like, you know, is Trump, I don't think he's going to go quietly into the night, because they're going to keep after him, even if he were to concede and move on. You know, they would still not leave him alone. So I think, with that being said, you know, they would try to arrest him or his family. It's like, if he has some sort of hammer, if he has some sort of Kraken, if he has some sort of, you know, game changer, he needs to use it now, because, you know, he's not going to be able just to go leave and retire in peace. Right. That will never happen with them.
Yeah, true. Well, I want to say we're coming up on the hour, that I want to thank all of you who were brave enough to tune in tonight. I know that a lot of people they have reservations, thinking that, oh, if we associate with them, they might cut our heads off. I get it. I understand it. I'm okay with that. But again, I am thankful that you who have stuck around, that you're here, you're listening. And again, don't take our word for it. Do your own research. But definitely share our feed or broadcast on your social media platforms. We're also on Facebook. And you can go to YouTube and Google megamedia.org. You can also go to Google, the same thing, megamedia.org, YouTube, and you'll come to our account. But we are there. We're on more than one source. Twitter just happened to be one of the larger platforms, but we are on other platforms, and we hope to expand. So stay tuned. I put our email there. We'll try to come back on again, as long as they don't silence us. But megamedia.org, again, on YouTube. You can follow us, Multicultural Conservative Foundation. We're there as well. I'm on different social platforms under Rob JH1. Really simple, really easy. You can Google it, and you will find me there. So.
And to make things simple, here in about 10 minutes or less, I'll put tonight's show up on MegaMedia.org. So that's all you have to type in, MAGA media.org, and then the top article should be tonight's show.
And I can put it on Twitter if I'm not banned yet.
Excellent, Sean. We're really going to be depending on you after this.
Yeah. I'm the last straw.
Yeah. We'll just funnel all our news through Sean.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, just go to megamedia.org and it'll be the top article. And you can click on our YouTube video from tonight's show, and you could subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it, because we love all of our loyal listeners, and we hope that we keep as many of you as possible.
Right. And I would say, Sean, I mean, we don't want you to get banned, so be careful if you were to post.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right.
It'd
but
be fun, though.
Right, I would say go to our, if you're still in different rooms, you can always tell the folks there, because I think I was in some of the rooms with you, that they can catch us on a Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We're still here. They want to see our show, and how to get in contact with us, give you their information. You can funnel it on through us.
Oh yeah, I can go into some of these places and spread the word, assuming some of these rooms are still in existence by the end of the night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, tell them that we have a platform, and if they all want to come on, we are set up so that everyone can get on. We have a Zoom account, and we can broadcast it live. I think that would be great. And people can air their grievances, you know. So
yes,
we have
absolutely.
the capability of doing that. So
let's do that.
I had 3 accounts, and now I am down to 1. They took away 2 of my accounts. My main account, obviously, at Small Town Andrew, and then they took up one of my backup accounts. But I still have 1 account left. So I'll be using that to try and spread the word as well. Tonight, I couldn't even tweet the show because I couldn't access the show from Twitter. So hopefully I'll figure that out in the future. But yeah, follow me on Twitter still at MegaMedia .org if you want to get a hold of me. Thank you.
Yep. So, and interestingly enough, I'm also there in another account. I don't remember the name of it.
Are you guys coming back on Twitter on a new account? Or are you out?
Well, I'm still on Twitter. I mean, I haven't been jacked yet.
I could probably start up a new account and use Mom's IP address here.
Hell yeah.
They won't be able to track that and start up again. I went from like 33,000 followers today to 0, kind of like not as big as you other guys, but it was starting to deteriorate during the week. So there was some. I was not surprised. I started even making an announcement that, look, I'm bleeding, I'm hemorrhaging, but look for me on Parler. And then I find that Parler is, have their issues in the App Store. And if they take them off the App Store, there's a problem there. And, people made big investments in Parler. It was supposed to be like the new Twitter. And then there was, I have a Gab account. I don't know much about that. I haven't used.
I have a Gab account as well. Right. Well, they took Gab off. Gab is not on Google or Apple. You can't get them. So they took them off like 2 years ago.
What about you, Rob? Do you have any thoughts on making a new account? You don't have to mention what the screen name would be, so there's no way to trace who it would be right now. But what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I might just take a break. Because the president will be, he's off now. I was going to hang on until, after the inauguration, but I'm going to be doing a lot of my stuff on Parler. So Parler, and there's another one that I'm on as well that seems to be Cloud Hub and Gab. I'm on Cloud Hub and Gab, and Cloud Hub seems to be rather straightforward and easy. You can post and whatnot. So find me there, but my voice will not be silent. I'm looking at other avenues as to how we can restream our live shows. So stay tuned.
Don't forget there's Tinder. We all go on Tinder.
Oh yeah,
do a podcast on there too, right?
I'm going to write that down right now. TI.
We do have a group. We do have a handsome group of guys on the panel tonight, so we might be a big hit. Huh?
Swipe right is our podcast.
on a donation. In terms of money, Rob, you may want to follow up on your PayPal account, and we can maybe talk to some of our people and try to raise some money for
absolutely.
For this show.
I did put the PayPal right. I put the PayPal there I'm also on Venmo, Cash App, Rob JH1 for them all except for PayPal. It's Rob Harper. But again, I try to make it simple. Rob JH1. You can find me there. Cash App, Venmo, if you want to donate and to keep our voices heard. We really appreciate it.
We'll see if our liberal friend Ken comes through tonight. He's always been a listener to our podcast for quite some time, but he's got some leftist views. But he said he was going to donate to Rob tonight, so we'll see if he's going to put up or shut up and see how that goes. Thank you, Ken, for the consideration either way.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, but yeah, that's it. That's all I have, and we will come back on hopefully on Sunday.
Okay, thanks, guys. I'm glad I could come on tonight in this unique evening tonight. As always, just a great show and a great opportunity. So thanks.
Okay,
great
God bless.
See you guys. God bless.
Thank you. Okay. God bless you.
Always good, Ray and Rob and Andrew. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean, thanks, Sean, for tuning in on short notice and calling in.
Cameo appearance.
Yeah, we want to get him here before they shut him down.
Yes.
He's going to be the #1 spreader of our show now. So
I'm a super spreader.
Yeah.
Okay, good night, guys.